Welcome into the Solo Shot Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dom Manna. Happy Solo Shot Saturday, everybody. I apologize for the late start. We had a little bit of snow up here on the East Coast that I had to deal with this morning. But we are here nonetheless talking about baseball, and it's the most wonderful time of the year because now that the Super Bowl is over, and it was a classic second Super Bowl to ever go to overtime, Patrick Mahomes getting his third ring in 6 seasons as a starter, the Taylor Swift chaos that ensued with her not being on the TV as much as some people would like, and Usher just absolutely going insane during the halftime show. It's one that's going to be remembered for a while. We're now on to baseball season in a lot of people's minds. I was already there as a Patriots fan since about week 5, but pitchers and catchers have reported down to spring training in Arizona and Florida, and it is just truly amazing. It gives me an adrenaline rush seeing the batting practices in the cages, seeing the guys just making that sound into the catcher's mitt is so satisfying. And seeing all the guys, whether they're in new places or young guys coming up, getting an opportunity in the big league uniform with fans cheering them on and watching, it's just a really amazing time. The trucks went down and everybody is just so excited, I think, for the 2024 Major League Baseball season. And I, for one, am really excited because when I brought the podcast back and started this whole YouTube channel, I did it on opening day or right before opening day. So I didn't cover spring training, and I think that this is going to be something that is a big part of this time of the year in the show. And I can't wait to see what happens with these spring training matchups and the pitchers and catchers. Obviously, there's been a lot of buzz seeing Yamamoto throwing for the first time in the major leagues and his warm-up techniques, as well as all the other people that just go out there and have an amazing spring, whether it's handling the pitching staff or developing a new pitch. There's going to be so many storylines that come just from the pitchers and catchers. So that is very much appreciated. And I think that we didn't talk about some Hall of Fame extensions on last week's episode. I'm not sure if the Altuve extension was done by the time I recorded, but Jose Altuve is going to be an Astro for life, 5 years, $125 million deal to be an Astro. And this is a guy who, for all intents and purposes, is a Hall of Famer. I know there's still a ton of people out there that are not over the trash can scandal of the 2017 Astros. And he, for better or worse, was the face of a lot of those things. He had that whole buzzer bad tattoo controversy about not wanting to take his jersey off after walking it off against the Yankees. But Jose Altuve, when you look at the statistics, he was complicit in what the Astros were doing in 2017, but he was not benefiting from it. You actually have seen on video multiple times, he got the least amount of bangs out of anybody. And the few times that he did get a bang while he was up to bat, you could see him visibly frustrated. He did not want it. He did not need it. He is an all-time hitter, 3-time batting title, a guy who this season, I think, is going to start really kind of cementing himself as a Hall of Famer. This is a guy who has over 2,000 hits already in his career. And I think that as he ages out in a natural way, he's going to push close to 3,000 hits. I don't know if he'll be a guy that gets there, depending on health, but a guy who has a lot of power at the second base position and is an amazing ambassador for the game. And I'm happy that Houston gets him as an all-time Astro, someone that could go down as the face of the franchise in history, depending on how he finishes out here, especially with the postseason success and dominance that he has had. And the other one was one that I didn't necessarily want to touch on because there was never a doubt in my mind, but I did get a message after the show that I didn't talk about the Clayton Kershaw extension. And Clayton Kershaw was never going to be a Texas Ranger. He was never going to be a San Francisco Giant. It was just a matter of when Clayton Kershaw is going to sign back with the Dodgers, or is this surgery that he just had so debilitating that he's going to hang up the cleats. I would have felt really bad if he hung up the cleats because getting the opportunity to play with Shohei Ohtani and with a pitching staff that doesn't rely on him being the front runner, Cy Young candidate guy. I just think that this is the best team the Dodgers have assembled in his tenure, and I'm glad that he gets to be a small part of it. He is about 56 strikeouts away from 3,000, so I'm hoping that no matter what his usage is this season when he comes back this summer, he will be able to get there to that magic 3,000 number. It's kind of the last feather in his cap of his Hall of Fame career. He's got the Cy Youngs, he's got an MVP, he's got a championship, and now he's just hunting for that last number, 3,000 strikeouts. Clayton Kershaw, truly an all-time great, a guy whose run prevention is damn near the same as Pedro Martinez in an era where you could say that Pedro Martinez was pitching against guys that were juiced players, but Clayton Kershaw was pitching against juiced balls, which is more of a detriment, I think, personally, because everybody gets the benefit of the juiced balls. During the steroid era, we knew that players were juicing, but we didn't know everybody that was juicing, and we don't believe every single player was using performance-enhancing drugs at the time. So it wasn't an advantage that you had to deal with in every single at-bat, but with the juiced balls during those mid to late 2010s, there was a lot of guys hitting balls that would have been outs that were going over the fence, and Clayton Kershaw's run prevention remained elite through that stretch. So Clayton Kershaw, first ballot Hall of Famer, and I'm happy to see him back in Dodger blue. It was never a doubt for me, but something that definitely you love to see, and I'm going to continue to highlight the Hall of Famers in today's game as much as I can. There have been a lot of rumors surrounding the Scott Boras clients that are still unsigned. Jordan Montgomery is struggling to get someone to offer him a multi-year deal. And Blake Snell apparently is starting to pivot to a shorter term contract, higher AAV. And these guys, I'm shocked that there isn't a team willing to pay for this kind of pitching, especially Montgomery, who does not have a draft pick compensation attached to him, a guy who the last 3 years has pitched 170 plus innings and helped the Rangers win a dang World Series. But they're still out there. I've seen some things already with Kyle Bradish's injury that there's a chance that the new Orioles ownership goes out there and pays up for a Montgomery or Snell. I think that they are going to sign a Michael Lorenzen type personally. That seems more like the pivot here, as Bradish isn't out for the entire year, but he will miss a big chunk of the season with his UCL sprain. But Cody Bellinger and Matt Chapman, there is absolutely no noise. Apparently, the Mariners are still hoping that they can make enough payroll cuts to get Blake Snell. But Matt Chapman, to me, should be a Seattle Mariner. That seems like such a natural fit. No offense against Josh Rojas and Luis Arias, but that spot in the order, not having Eugenio Suarez anymore, you need a guy who can give you some quality at bats, and especially the upgrade there would be defensively. Having J.P. Crawford and Matt Chapman on the left side of your infield, that's going to help your entire pitching staff, Blake Snell or not. So I'm hoping Matt Chapman can end up, he's been rumored to go out west to Giants, Seattle, but there has been no official offer. And it's kind of shocking because the Giants have tons of money to play with. The Mariners have a clear weakness at third base, and neither team has extended a significant offer to Matt Chapman. Cody Bellinger, it's looking more and more like he's going to be a Cub by the day. And he's going to have to try to prove it again. So I'm thinking that he could sign a Lucas Giolito type deal where he signs for a 2-year, but there's an opt-out, player opt-out after year 1. So if he has back-to-back good seasons, like he had last year winning comeback player of the year, then Cody Bellinger might be able to launch himself into a 4, 5, 6, 7-year contract with an organization that's like, okay, this is the new adjusted Cody Bellinger. It wasn't just a flash in the pan. But it's still shocking to me that he hasn't gotten any significant offers either at this point. These are 4 players that are incredibly useful. to any team. And I just think that the numbers just aren't lining up right now in terms of what Boris is trying to get for them. But a signing that I absolutely loved, the Philadelphia Phillies signed utility man Whit Merrifield to a 1-year, $8 million deal. And I absolutely love this. The Phillies have a defensive problem on their team at the moment. Their corner outfield situation is not the best. So Whit Merrifield can play a decent corner outfield for you and give you some advantages there. But Whit Merrifield also allows you to give Trey Turner or Bryson Stott days off while not sacrificing any speed in that lineup. Whit Merrifield is one of only 8 players in Major League history with multiple seasons of 40 doubles and 40 stolen bases. He is a really good speed and contact guy, and adding him with Trey Turner, who is a base stealing specialist, with Bryson Stott, who stole over 30 bags last year, having them hitting in front of Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, like it's going to be a really tough lineup for teams to deal with. And I'm not saying yet that the Phillies are going to dethrone the Atlanta Braves, but every little chess move like this gets them closer to that possibility. And Whit Merrifield, another guy that I was shocked wasn't signed yet. He's a guy that made the All-Star team last year. And as far as I've seen and never had any bad press, whether he was in Kansas City or in Toronto. And he is just a really good player. He's versatile. He steals bases. He hits for a high average in today's game. There's nothing not to like in the fact that he's going to give them that versatility at second base and shortstop in the corner outfield spots. I think that's just a great signing for the Phillies. And I think that you're going through these teams that have clear needs. There's going to be a surprise injury outside of Kyle Bradish. There always is. Injuries are the most unfortunate reality in our sport. Not every single team is going to go into the season with their best lineup on paper, all healthy. But there's going to be injuries. There's going to be opportunities for guys off the street, for other trades and deals that go on. And I'm just so excited to see some action because this offseason, the Dodgers started it off real hot, but it has fizzled out a lot. There's been some nice moves along the way, some awesome extensions to see, whether for young players like Bobby Witt or future Hall of Famers like Jose Altuve. But we need to see some more action. There's a lot of impact players still out there, and some of them can be had pretty reasonably. I'm not expecting those big 4 guys to sign 1-year, $8 million deals like Whit Merrifield, but you can get guys onto your roster that impact winning right now for not a lot of resources. So I will continue to update you on rumors and signings as we go through spring training. And it is just amazing that there's so many talented free agents still out there here on February 17th. Here at the Solo Shot Sports Podcast, we like to throw it back down the third base line to this day in baseball history to keep the stories of the game alive. And there was a very special moment in baseball history today because on this date in 1990, Herb Rayborn, the Yankee director of Latin American operations, signed amateur pitcher Mariano Rivera to a $3,000 contract. Now, Mariano Rivera did not debut in Major League Baseball until 1995, and he did not even become the Yankees' full-time closer until 1997. But despite all that, being the full-time closer at 27, 28 years old, this kid from a little fishing town, Puerto Caimito, in Panama, went on to be the greatest closer that ever lived. Mariano Rivera's 652 saves are a record. He broke Trevor Hoffman's record at 602. Before Craig Kimbrell came along, he was the fastest to 1, 2, and 300 saves. And Mariano Rivera, 13-time All-Star. He led the league in saves only 3 times, but was incredibly consistent compiling them. And his career ERA is 2.21. His adjusted ERA plus is 205 and is the best ever for someone with as many innings pitched as Mariano Rivera. But the thing that really separates Mariano Rivera from the crowd of closers, and the reason why I think he got such an amazing show of support by the Baseball Writers Association of America, being the first unanimous Hall of Fame electee, was that Rivera pitched 96 postseason games for the Yankees during their dynasty, helping them win 5 championships and 2 other AL pennants. He had 42 saves in 96 appearances. He pitched 141 innings, only allowing 11 runs. His ERA in the postseason is 0.7. The lowest of all time. The next closest is a 0.83. And that player pitched 100 less innings than Mariano Rivera did in the postseason. He was a great ambassador for the game. He was an American dream story, a guy who adjusted and really came along, and a guy who now the best closer in the American League every year gets the Rivera Award. He was an all-time great, and someone who, when we look at relief pitchers, typically they have, the Hall of Famers have WARs somewhere in the high 20s to high 30s, somewhere in that range typically. Mariano Rivera's career WAR, 56.3. Absolutely dominant. He won a World Series MVP. He won an ALCS MVP. Heck, he won an All-Star Game MVP as a reliever. His first full season as the Yankees closer, 27 years old, ERA of 1.88, 43 saves. And he went on having a stretch where he was never below 28 and topped out at 53. He wasn't having those 60-plus save seasons, but he just consistently got things done. And for those of you that appreciate statistics like games finished, Mariano Rivera leads the league in that as well. 952 games did he close out, save or not. Mariano Rivera, I'm so glad to have been able to watch you play, and I think the whole baseball world thanks Herb Radbourn for discovering you as a Panama prospect who didn't have a lot of experience pitching, was actually looked at as a better soccer player at one point than a baseball player, ended up going on to be the greatest closer of all time. It shows you that with hard work and perseverance, you can accomplish the greatest feats. We were a little late today, so I rushed through the show. We're 40 days from Major League Baseball regular season, 40 days until the Dodgers and the Padres square off in the Korean series. Yamamoto versus Joe Musgrove and the boys. The Padres have already announced that they're switching their middle infield. Xander Bogaerts will be moving to second base, and Ha-Sung Kim will be moving over to shortstop to help them defensively. And I'm just so excited to see something that at one point was the most can't miss baseball rivalry in the sport, Padres-Dodgers, overseas, kicking off the 2024 Major League Baseball season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado looking to have bounce back huge years, and the Dodgers, the best team on paper in recent memory. So many MVPs, so many winners, so many all-stars. it's going to be an amazing start. So we will continue to count you down as we get closer to opening day. But until then, I hope you guys have an amazing Solo Shot Saturday, a great rest of your week, and I'll be back with you next week with some more baseball talk. Peace.